This is the Pastaza Morona Basin, the largest wetland of the western Amazon. It's a Ramsar site, or wetland of international importance, located in Datem del Marañón province in the Loreto region. Found here is Lake Ramachi, the largest in the Peruvian Amazon that contains an abundance and large variety of fish. The lake connects with the Pastaza, which together with the Morona are the most important rivers of this ecosystem. There are 7 indigenous peoples in Datem del Marañón, each with its own characteristics. They are the Quechua, Achuar, Wampis, Kandoji, Chapra, Awahun, and Shawi. They live mostly by hunting, fishing, and collecting forest fruits. The aguaje palm is the dominant species in these wetlands, which are called aguajales. A typical aguajal contains tons of carbon dioxide captured from the atmosphere. They could remain there for centuries if the ecosystem were not altered. The aguajal is therefore a very relevant ecosystem for climate change mitigation. There are more than 5 million hectares, more than 12 million acres, of aguajales in the Peruvian Amazon. The decomposition of aguajal organic soil material generates humus, nearly 10% more in an aguajal than in a forest ecosystem. The humus serves as a trap for the carbon dioxide extracted from the atmosphere by the aguaje palms, as long as the ecosystem is maintained with its vegetation cover and is saturated with water. The Amazon is accumulating nearly 90% of Peru's stock of soil carbon. That represents nearly half of the greenhouse gas emissions of Peru. By cutting down forests, the CO2 accumulated in the vegetation is again released into the atmosphere. The Amazon dwellers go to the aguajales to harvest aguaje, although they unfortunately generally cut down the palms to facilitate the harvest. They call the aguaje the tree of life. The aguaje fruit contains many vitamins and valuable nutrients, and for many river dwellers, it is their only source of income. Iquitos, Peru's main Amazonian city, consumes 15 tons daily of aguaje. That translates into cutting more than 300 aguaje trees a day, or 15 trees an hour. But when a palm tree is felled, it opens an entrance for the sun's rays that heat the organic material in the soil. The carbon dioxide then returns to the atmosphere, aggravating the greenhouse effect. How can this practice of destructive cutting be ended without affecting the life of other communities? By climbing the trees instead of cutting them. Very simple harnesses called tree climbers exist for that purpose. And many communities are already learning to harvest the aguaje fruit without cutting down the aguajes.
De los años anteriores venimos cortando los árboles, pero esta vez ya estamos adaptándonos a una capacitación que estamos cosechando con escalones, con la finalidad de poder aprovechar los frutos y a no matar las palmeras.
The municipality of Datem del Marañón established the legal framework. It created 2 environmental conservation areas in coordination with indigenous organizations, and the Peruvian National Trust Fund for Parks and Protected Areas, Profonampe, advocated local management of each area, linked to the development of bio-businesses. Each area has a leader, and communal vigilance committees undertake patrols to stop the felling of aguaje palms.
Mira, ¿qué tan fácil es? Simplemente lo que queremos es interés de aprender, nada más. Eso es lo que se requiere. Esta chalupa fue otorgado por Fonampe del proyecto Pastaza Morona para utilizar en beneficio al monitoreo, a la fiscalización y a la sensibilización de toma de conciencia para no deteriorar y poder proteger lo que es la palmera que es aguaje.
Este es el asiento.
Simultaneously, sustained management techniques were perfected to give added value to aguaje, and the villagers were trained to use tree climbers.
Para mí era una cosa tan difícil, pero yo Marte me practicaba solo mirando y aprendí de esto y me he puesto solita a practicar y me salió muy bien. Ahora estoy capacitando a los demás.
Today, the aguaje of nearly 50 participating communities doesn't go to distant markets. It arrives at processing plants close to the communities where it is transformed into pulp. But this is just the beginning. Soon, valuable aguaje oil will be offered for cosmetic products, granola, flakes, nutraceuticals, and other products. The experience could be similar to that obtained by products such as Peruvian quinoa or Brazilian acai, classified as superfoods. This type of aguaje utilization would generate business opportunities, not only for the indigenous communities, but also urban societies, as well as a very powerful incentive to preserve the aguaje palm wetlands. The Aguajales are not yet a dynamic source of sustained economic development. The harvest in remote areas does not reach industrial commercialization volumes because it quickly becomes perishable. Transportation is expensive, and sustainable supply chains that promote conservation don't exist. Today, the indigenous know that they will be able to harvest aguajes from the same tree within a year, and over many years to come. The low value of the aguajales by decision-makers creates fears that the aguajales will be transformed into agricultural lands dedicated, for example, to palm oil, as has already occurred in some zones of the Amazon. An aguaje does not grow rapidly. Inside the aguajal, it takes decades to bear fruit, and in open environments, no fewer than 8 years. In this specific experience, the communities themselves are the protagonists. It is hoped that it will be replicated in many other Amazon areas in order to conserve, in productive form and with deforestation practices avoided, those ecosystems as valuable for lessening climate change as for the local economy. Together, the Amazon forests regulate the Earth's climate. If their wetlands disappeared, not only would thousands of animal and vegetable species be eliminated, but also enormous quantities of CO2 would be released into the atmosphere, aggravating climate change. Conservation of the aguajales, the majority of them publicly owned, will be achieved only if supported by the native communities themselves, and if they obtain benefits from those ecosystems. The communities today know that conserving the aguaje plant conserves an important source of natural riches and also conserves valuable ecosystems for Peru, and the world.